Welcome to the Journey Podcast, where we talk freight, sales, tech, the market, and everything in between. My name is Will Jenkins, CEO and founder of Journey. Let's get it. Hello, and welcome to the Journey Podcast. My name is Will Jenkins, CEO and founder of Journey. And today I'm joined by the legendary Hunter Bell. What's up, man?
I don't know about legendary, but appreciate that intro.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I've known you for a long time now. I'm thinking it's 2026. So gosh, 8 years now at least. It's been a minute, man, but it's been really cool to watch you and the rest of your team that I've met over years progress and build. So I'm excited to dive in and talk about MySavant and see what you've been up to.
For sure. We have had some good times together too.
We have.
Mentioning on your 6-month tour around the world, we happened to link up in Mykonos.
Correct. Yeah. So some of those long, fun days, man, I enjoy. We got to get some more in.
Yeah.
Beautiful, dude. Well, I always like to start with a quick 10,000 foot overview of our guest's background. So I know you really well. A lot of other people will, but some people may not, man. So tell me what you've been up to, and then we'll dive into MySavant.
Yeah. So I'm the CEO and founder of MySavant. I've been pretty much grew up in transportation and logistics. My dad, David Bell, who's the founder of Clonops, he had a trucking company when I was growing up, and I never realized what the industry was until he started Lean Solutions, and I got involved. And he said, "Hey, I have this company. You got to sell to transportation companies." And I was like, "Transportation? What the hell is that?" And over the years when I was growing up, though, it was always funny seeing how he used to operate back in the day to even now how companies are operating. I remember him on the flip phone at 1 a.m. screaming at a driver, "Where are you? What's the location?" Pulling out like a map to figure out where that driver was at. And, banging a flip phone on the desk or whatever. And now, obviously, with technology and everything going on, it's a completely different world. So I kind of grew up in the industry. I fell in love with it when I started at Lean Solutions, which was really the pioneer of Nearshoring. When I started to get to know the people in the industry, just like, like yourself, amazing people. I started out really young in my career, coming out of college, and I was going after transportation companies, and our buyer persona was always C-suite. So, dealing with CEOs, COOs, and CFOs, and being young, it's not very easy to get the ear of a person of that caliber. So everyone's always treated me really well in the industry. But yeah, spent about 8.5 years doing nearshoring. Yeah. And part of the company that went from 25 people to close to 10,000. So that's really the bulk of my experience doing sales for them.
That's awesome, man. So obviously you've been around for a minute and seen the industry since a young age. I want to go back to early stuff. I think it's always interesting to kind of peel back layers at things that you may have learned watching your dad build the trucking side of the business. So anything stand out that you remember that maybe helps you as an entrepreneur today or helps you think about what you're building?
Yeah, 80-hour work weeks. Yeah. So definitely remember a lot growing up that he was working a lot. Always on the phone, always dealing with issues, things going wrong. And, in the car with him, he had 2 phones, both of them going at once. And, and he was a self-made entrepreneur and built multiple businesses and sold them. So growing up, I always kind of had that entrepreneurship in my blood where I wanted to follow the footsteps of him. Luckily, I had the opportunity to work with him at Lean, building that company. And at MySavant, I'm excited to take a new role within the company and learn more across the entire business aspect of, starting and growing a company. But yeah, the hours work definitely stood out quite a bit.
Essentially, man, I've always had a ton of respect for your dad. He's been a great sounding board for me as I've grown in my entrepreneurial journey. So I can only imagine the amount of things, both super challenging and really cool. Entrepreneurship is very much so like a roller coaster, right? And so
for sure,
high highs of stuff that you probably saw him work through, and low lows. It's not always roses, rainbows and butterflies, where like things get dicey from time to time.
Yeah, no, 100%. Plus, I was the youngest of 4 kids. So now I have 2 kids, and I'm realizing, being in a startup and, founder of a company, like it's a lot. So got to
It's
give him
taxing.
credit for what he was able to pull off. And obviously my mom was an absolute rock star, being able to take care of 4 kids, where, luckily I have a great wife that takes care of my two. But yeah, I think that's actually a big piece of success, is making sure your partner
Yeah.
is uh is amazing. So got lucky there.
Yeah. Shout out Grace.
I told her I would shout her out in the pod, so we're gonna have to
Let's
clip that and
go.
send it to her.
Very, very important, man. No, but she's awesome. It's a great point, right? Like there's so many layers to being successful in life in general. Obviously, we spend a lot of time at work in business, but that doesn't go well at all if you don't have a strong counterpart or a good support system to execute all the rest of the stuff that's going on in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my dad told me, like, even when I started MySavant, like, surround yourself with the right team and the right talent and the right, mentors. He's obviously a big mentor for me, but again, I've been fortunate to, even yourself, getting tips from you when I first started on the sales side. So that's what we've done really well. And that's what I'm most excited about, is the team that we're building at
Yeah.
MySavant, to take kind of this next generation of nearshoring.
Yeah. So I want to make sure we have plenty of time to dive into the unique aspects of what you're building in the new business, MySavant. But some of you just alluded to there, I want to go back to, because I've seen you grow as an entrepreneur and a sales professional the last 8 years. I remember meeting you early on in your career at Lane Selling, and it was so cool to see. We laugh about it now. It was so cool to see the early stages of it, right? And then to see you in the room with, people that I know, multi-billion-dollar executives, having really big, deep, thoughtful conversations about how they approach business. How were you able to grasp those things early on? Because you were a young gun, like straight out of college doing that.
Just a lot of time. I think a lot of time spent. I kind of dedicated, a lot of time understanding transportation. One, like I couldn't sell nearshoring if I didn't know what the roles were, the impact to the business, if I didn't understand, the struggles and the challenges within those positions, and why people even wanted to. Like when I first started, I tried to pitch it, and back then, like, Columbia wasn't really even on the map at all. So when I first started making calls, they're like, Columbia, South Carolina, like, what do you mean nearshoring? What does that mean? So we actually had to educate the buyer on even what the service was. Now everyone knows it, right? There's a ton of companies that do it, and it's, a model that's understood. So when we first started, it was a lot of education. And I will say the one beauty of the job is you can get in the room with the executives, but they get on your turf where they're down in Columbia with you. So I brought a ton of, high level executives, and shout out to all the customers over the years that I worked with and we worked with, because, again, that they're all amazing. And when I went down to Columbia with them, and they spent, 4 days down in the offices in Columbia, that's time that's spent not just in an office, but then you're going to lunch, you're going to dinner, you're going to breakfast. And there's a lot of thought, kind of leadership that goes into those days. So I was fortunate from a sales perspective to be with these executives for a long period of time, not just like going up to Chicago for an hour in their office and then leaving. It was like 3 or 4 days across multiple cities that you really get to learn and figure out who these people are.
I want to pivot into MySavant, but before we do that, what do you think is the biggest lesson you learned during that 8 years that has now helped you, be a CEO and founder of your new org?
I think it's just stick to your word, really, and, build a strong relationship. Like that's always been, I've never really been like a hard closer where I'm like, nonstop. You got to be persistent in sales, obviously, but you never want to be like annoying. That was kind of what I taught my sales reps and what I learned over the years. But the relationship, I think, is still key. Like whether I get your business or not, we're friends, right? And that's something we built over the years. And you trust me. And if you have a need at some point in time, I'm going to be your guy that you come to. And that's always been kind of my approach. It was like, hey, timing's not right, but I want to be in your back pocket for when that timing is. I want to be your guy. And that's worked well for me in my sales career and my team that, I built over there.
I love it, man. So tell me about MySavant. What's the quick overview of the org, and then we'll dive into what you've been building.
Yeah. So high level, we're really the next generation of nearshoring, where we're combining the nearshore talent with AI, and we're trying to optimize the workforce and really like re-engineer companies' workforce. And typical nearshoring, it's like, hey, I can provide you seats and really good talent, but I'm never really recommending tools and bridging the two together to help you become more efficient. And I want to look at a company and say, hey, this person is doing X amount of loads a day. I think I can get them to do 20% more if we just, tweak this training here, or we tweak this task that they're doing could be automated with AI. Let's slowly integrate that into their workflow. And we want to be the advisors to help companies understand what this AI journey looks like. I think we're just at the tip of what AI can do. And a lot of companies are getting, what I'm hearing is like AI fatigue, where there's so many different tools, so many different options, where with MySavant, we can take on all of those conversations for our customers, and we can, in theory, build the sausage and then have that, ready to go.
It's interesting, man. I sit at a very unique intersection in our business today, since we do recruiting, consulting, and training, right? We get a lot of different input, and we see a lot of tools. I invest in a lot of different businesses, so I see a lot of the solutions. Some are incredible, and they really come in and make impactful changes to organizations. Some are not so great, right? They may position themselves as a particular, and then they don't bring that to the table. It doesn't work the way that it's supposed to. So your point about AI fatigue is real. And I think being a partner that can cut through the noise, even if they don't use your entire solution for every part that you do, if you're someone that they trust and they know that you're going to shoot them straight and help them avoid challenges, it's a major differentiator. So I can only imagine, with the depth of the experience of people on your team and the solutions that you all are bringing, it must help with a lot of the conversations that you're having.
Yeah, I mean, I spent years working with probably over 500 different transportation companies, and all the way from big enterprise publicly traded companies down to, a team of 5 individuals running a small brokerage. And you'd be surprised, like some of the big players, they're not as structured as you would think when it comes to training, onboarding, management of the team. And, a lot of times companies will just try to throw more bodies at the problem instead of really looking at how can we make the people we have more efficient. So I think that's kind of our goal, is looking at, how can we use AI internally to make our services better and quicker. So even like for Journey, I'm sure you guys are looking at tools to find talent quicker for your customers. Like,
always.
The speed to value, speed to get the talent in the door. That's one thing. If I can get you talent in a day versus a week, there's huge value in that. So we're doing that internally as well. That's helping our customers, not just externally, like, voice and email automation, but the different aspects of the business.
So question for you, as you think about the new age of what you all are positioning, what have you found to be as maybe the best way to open up and explain what's different about your solution today versus the rest of the people that y'all compete with?
Yeah. So when we go into a prospect and we look at their org, we typically say like, hey, let's see what you have and let's look at the KPIs. Let's look at the SOPs. I think there's this big spectrum of like AI readiness. Like, are you ready for fully automated, or are you just scratching the surface? And some companies are already there. Like, companies are already automating tracking. They're already automating carrier sales, and they have it figured out. In those cases, like, we're better used to find the talent to support it. And then you have companies in the beginning of the journey that say like, hey, we're so busy in our day to day, we don't really have time to go fight through the noise and figure out our AI strategy. And those people, we can go in and we can craft a solution specifically for how we arm our people with the AI. Like, we're partnered with CloneOps on the voice and email side, and like their tool works. Like, we've already shown that, hey, this person is now 20-30% more productive because of this tool. But it still takes time to get them integrated. It still takes time to build out the agents. So it's like a phased approach that we typically do. So we phase it in slowly, and we call it like responsible AI. Or we're not just going to say, hey, let's go let it loose. Let's responsibly, integrate it over time. And like typical outsourcing, nearshoring, it's all about like the seats. That's the business. Is like, hey, more seats, more seats, more seats. With us, we try to focus on like the outcome that you're trying to achieve.
Totally.
And we want to put as much AI in as possible, because we're also incentivized by the AI, not just the seats. So I think that's like the big difference is at the end, we actually don't care about the seats. We care about the amount of work that's being handled, whether it's AI or human. It's that perfect blend.
That makes sense. So what advice would you give to a younger version of yourself, right? You think about all the things you've learned about executive level conversations and relationship building and now building your own business. Any advice you'd give to a younger version of Hunter?
I would say just soak it all in. That's something I always did, was take like the best advice from everyone and kind of build my own thoughts and strategies. Like, you know, and surround yourself with people that are successful. I got lucky. My dad's, my dad, and he's very successful. So I was able and still able to lean on him for a lot of advice.
Totally.
And, a lot of people don't have that. So they kind of just are trying to do stuff on their own, but go to people that have done it. Go to people that are successful, and they'll be willing to help. Like, I've never had any successful founder, CEO, when I go to them and say like, hey, I have a question for you. What's your thoughts on this? I'm thinking about doing it this way. What's your advice? Like, they've never shut me down and said like, I'm not helping you. People want to help other people. So I would say that. And then a lot of it's like your mindset. Like I just finished a book, like Think and Grow Rich. I don't know if you ever read that book.
It's my favorite book ever, man. It's my favorite book in the world. It's a bad boy right here.
That wasn't planned, by the way. That wasn't planned. I didn't know you had that book sitting right next to you.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But a lot of people don't have that mindset, to like, and that's something my dad taught me at a very, very early age, was like, you have to believe it to achieve it. And so I've always kind of had that mindset, but I just finished reading that book, and it's the secret to success, in my opinion.
It is. There's two things slightly off topic. One isn't, and one is. So I really like The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. I listen to it every morning. It's about 37 minutes, and it's a concise version of what's in Think and Grow Rich. The things that you write down, the way you associate yourself with people, the things that you think, they really do become your reality, but you have to go and do the work. And Think and Grow Rich really aligns you with that. But one of the last chapters in Think and Grow Rich, where he talks about all of the if only stuff, and this one kills me. It's number 5. If only, and this is the greatest of them all, I had the courage to see myself as I really am, I would find out what is wrong with me and correct it. It goes on for longer, but it's a chilling statement at the end of that book, where it's basically saying, if you hold yourself accountable to the things that you're not willing to do, a lot of times you're going to figure out what those problems are. And if you don't, you're going to be in the same situation.
Yeah, I'm glad you read that book. Like back when I first started in sales, putting together a plan and then like sticking that plan on my mirror when I wake up, right?
Yeah.
And looking at it every day of where I want to go, where I want to be, and who I want to be, right?
Totally.
And so I was kind of doing those things before I read that book, and then I read it. I'm like, oh shit, maybe I was doing something right over the past couple of years.
Yeah, it's super cool. But I'm glad we'll jam on that more, because that book I probably read once or twice a year. It's a big part of the way.
Yeah, send me the other one too that you were talking about.
I will. Yeah, man. So talk to me about where you see our industry going market wise. So obviously you all are close to the freight market in general, but with labor and supply and on that side, that's much more in the speed of where your team is at. Any outlook on that?
Yeah, obviously we focus a lot on like the workforce across, from a high level, like how AI is impacting the workforce. And we don't really see a ton of impact right now. Like, it's still, unemployment's low. Like there isn't a ton of layoffs. There are some you can see on LinkedIn that get posted, but like the total isn't really impacted. There is like a slowing of hiring. I was reading an article the other day that like there's not as much hiring going on. But I mean, from the transportation perspective, like I'm hoping there's a turn.
Yeah, you and me both.
Everyone's been talking about it for about 3 years now. So, it looks more promising than it did last year. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, man. We typically get pretty good intel from different customers of ours of different sizes. And this is probably the most optimistic we've seen clients be over the last 2.5, 3 years. But I don't know that anyone's ready to sound the alarms quite yet and say that the great freight recession is over. But we're hoping that we get more signs leading up and to the right.
Yeah. The 2020 to 20 end of 22 were definitely some fun times to be in the industry.
Unheard of times, unprecedented stuff there, man. So talk to me about how you lead and how you're building your team. I think it's important early stage to have the right people around you and then be the kind of leader that those people are going to want to work with. Talk to me about your style and how you think about building that group.
Yeah, so we already built like a really, really amazing group. Like Mike Foy, he's our president. Dan Kopp, he came in on the Ford and drayage side. These are all guys. Jason Swanson on the tech side. Juan in Colombia, which is key, right? Having an individual that, lives down there, who's been to the US, lived in the US, has the entity, everything set up. My sales team and my guys that I've been with for a really long time, they all came over and are working with MySavant, and them having the understanding of the industry and have done it before, helps a lot. The one thing my dad told me when I started MySavant was like, hey, you have to get the right people and surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. So that's what my first initiative was, like, hey, who can I go out to help me run the business? And my background is like sales, marketing, the go-to-market, and not as much on the operational side. So like Mike Foy, he's running point on all of things operational.
Yeah.
And then the team we've formed in Colombia and Guatemala, the list goes on and on of the people we have, but like they're just absolutely incredible. So we have a good team. I'm super excited about it. We get on all, every day. I'm talking to everyone, and the energy is pretty cool. Like being back in the startup energy vibes it's different than, the corporate, I guess you could say.
It's super different, man. I'm a startup guy. I'm a startup guy myself. I love the energy. There's a different feel to it than being part of a larger, more structured organization.
Yeah, I think that's my style. It's one of the reasons I wanted to start MySavant too was like, growing up, I actually, how people are like, what do you want to do when you grow up? It was always like, I want to be like working with my family and start something with my family, which I was fortunate enough to do with Lean. And this time around, I'm excited to be leading the charge, not just helping, but be leading it and having the opportunity to get advice from my dad on the entire org, not so much just sales. Like he taught me everything I needed to know on sales. Obviously, you learn something new every day, but
totally.
But yes, the team's great. I think most of the team too, which
totally.
you could probably attest that the team's pretty good.
You got some killers, man. I love it. So
exciting.
Question in terms of stuff to look out for, man. Anything for us to have our eye out for over the next couple of quarters as your team continues to get rolling?
Yeah, I think we're going to get better and better at defining the impact in which AI is producing for our customers. So like the more data we get on this person was able to handle this and now they're handling this because we have AI integrated into the daily workflow, like it's going to get better and better. So, in the next couple months, we're going to have some really, really good use cases that we'll be happy to share with, people that are interested on like how is AI impacting our business. But we're really focused on like, at this point, you have to re-engineer your workforce for the future. Whether you're doing it with us or doing it internally, you really should look at your org and determine where you want to be in the next, 2 to 3 years and how much AI you want within the business. And AI is like every single day. I mean, it's hard to keep up.
Super tough. Changes every day.
Yeah. Every day there's something new launching. There's a new agent that's launched. And it's all seems very, very, you can do it easy, no problem, which isn't the case. So it is hard to break through some of that noise on like, try us out. A lot of people are trying pilots is what we're seeing too. Like a lot of people are testing it, doing pilots. So I think in the next 6 months, you'll be able to see are the pilots working or, or you got to take a step back.
Totally. As we get ready to wrap here, do me a solid. Would you mind? I don't know if it's Outlook, but there's a bunch of, I think, email pings coming through that I can hear. We'll have to edit those out if we can. But I want to
sorry about that.
Sure.
A lot of people blowing me up.
Yeah, man. The people need the stuff. I'll let you go ahead and get that set up and then I'll cue it back in here.
Yeah, I'm trying to, let me see. It's all good. I'll mute and should be good. I don't think anyone else is emailing me.
Okay. So as we get ready to wrap up here, man, I always like to end with a couple things. So you mentioned a book earlier. any other favorite books? You talked about Think and Grow Rich. Anything else that you want to recommend? I need a few new books.
Yeah, I mean, just being in the industry, like Brad's book is really good. I don't know if you read that. That's more on like the VC side, but that's a solid book. But those two, honestly, were like the most recent that I read.
Yeah,
those would be the two I recommend.
Where are we going to see you and the team over the next couple months? We'll be at TIA, so that's the next one for us.
We're everywhere, man. We're everywhere.
Love it.
No, we'll be at TIA. Yeah, we'll be at TIA. We'll probably, I want to get up to Chicago and see you.
Yeah. Let me know.
What's the weather looking like up there?
You know what? Today, I think we are maybe in the 50s, so you wouldn't die. We're 46 today, so we're doing all right.
Yeah, it's a little cold.
I know it's cold for those Florida natives, so it's a little challenging, man. Well, Hunter, it's been an absolute pleasure. I want to make sure that if people want to get a hold of you and the MySavant team, what's the best way to get a hold of you? Yeah,
just go on our website, mysavant.ai, and
awesome.
Reach out. There's a button there, or email me, hbell@mysavant.
Beautiful, man. Well, I'm super excited for you. I'm proud of what you've been able to build and the success that you and your team have had. And I'll be cheering for you as you continue to build at MySavant, man. Congrats.
Thank you. Appreciate it, brother.
Of course. Yes, sir. I'll catch you later.